Thank you for God awakening us today, Lord. And God, God, we thank you, God, for the education we have of educating our young Cherokees, God. And Father, Lord, we pray you, God, use this meeting, God, and God, just pray that your glory will be fulfilled, Lord. And God, we just love you and thank you so much. And God, just be with our decision making today as we better the minds and the growing, God, of our youth and our education. It's your name we pray. Amen.
Roll call.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Don Garvin. Bill England.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Pence. Here. Jody Fishington. Here. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Frankie Vargas.
Present.
Chuck Costigan Jr.
Here.
Connie Glory Jordan.
Present.
Lee Keener. Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell. David Thornton.
Here.
David Walton-Stick. Kara Callan Watts.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of minutes.
Make a motion to be approved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Jack Baker, second by Don Garvin. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Reports, if everybody agrees at this time, I'd like to ask we amend the agenda.
I'd like to make the motion to amend the agenda to move the Sequoia High School Athletic Program update to the beginning of the reports.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and second to move the Sequoia High School program update. Okay. The reason for that is Coach Grigg is going to take his girls softball team who have just won the state. I think they have a engagement there at our Hard Rock Casino for dinner, and well deserved. So we asked him to just give us a little update on the athletics of Sequoia, then he can be on his way. Coach Grigg?
Second.
No vote.
Oh, on the motion second?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Coach?
Okay, seems like that's all we've been doing is eating lately, but this year, starting out in the fall, cross country, of course, that's probably really our most successful program at Sequoia as far as state championships. The boys qualified for state again for, I don't know, the umpteenth time. I've lost count. We had one All-Stater, Terrence Nofire, freshman, made All-State. Volleyball got beat in the regional finals. Football had another great year. Just seems like they can't get over the first game of the playoffs, but they had a really great year, pretty exciting bunch, and really have some good kids coming back. Really, this year, again, expectations are pretty high. Fast pitch softball, they've been in the state the last 4 years, semifinals. Again, just can't quite get to the finals, but they really had a good year. They won 30-some games. I think we're ranked up number 2 or 3 in the state all year. So those sports in the fall were, I would say, were pretty successful. And then we went into what you might say the winter sports. Wrestling. Again, wrestling program's kind of tough because we really don't have much of a feeder program. A lot of the wrestlers, they get there in the as freshmen, they've never actually wrestled. And it's a sport that if you're not really brought up on it, it's pretty tough to compete. And I've never wrestled, but I've just been around it, and I understand they usually start them in kindergarten and bring them up through. So grabbing a kid as a freshman, trying to make him into a wrestler's pretty tough feat, but had a pretty good year. And those guys really worked hard at it. We had, I don't know, 7 or 8 kids that were on the varsity wrestling, and then had some JV students that wrestled also. Basketball, boys basketball, actually this year, playoffs, got to the regionals, regional losers final, actually won 2 tournaments, first time probably in a long time, won 2 invitationals, won the Inola Invitational, and also the Locust Grove Invitational. The girls team had a really good year. Ended up getting beat in the second round of the area, won 20 ball games, 20-8, and had a pretty good year. Then we went to, we finished up our spring season last year, or last month, or last week, and baseball, got beat in the regionals, won their district for, again, I think Coach Turtles won 10 or 11 districts in a row. Track, girls track had some state qualifiers, but the boys track team actually ended up state runner-up. So they had, and didn't have a lot of kids, but the kids that competed scored lots of points, and so they had a really good year. The golf team, we had one state golf qualifier in Ryland Bunch. I think this is the third year in a row he's qualified for the state meet. Shot pretty well, didn't have a great, what you might call a great 54 holes, but again, just getting there is a big accomplishment in itself. Had a full girls golf team, and we haven't had that in a while. Didn't really have anybody that really stood out. Then, let's see, slow pitch softball. We had really a good year. We ended up 27-11, but of those 11 losses, 9 of them were to teams that were in the class above us that qualified for the state tournament. So my theory is competition makes you better. We went in ranked 9th in the tournament. We beat the 4th ranked team, the 5th ranked team, and the 2nd ranked team, and won state championship. So that's kind of the way we had a pretty successful year. I mean, again, when you look at the people we play and stuff, you know, everybody'd like to be champions every year, but again, all in all, pretty good. So, any questions?
Counselor Watkins.
I guess also had your track team, was that when that first year they were state runners up in track with Sam Horseshoe?
Yeah.
And you guys had a freshman girl that was state champion?
Yes, we did. We did have Kayla Davis won the quarter mile state champion. Yes. Yeah.
Counselor Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had 2 questions. Can you tell me about what the personnel changes are, I guess, within athletics, because there was the deal with Mr. Nobles, and then what's your average, grade point average for your student athletes?
That's going to be the tough one. Well, Coach Nobles has decided to take a job at Porter, and I think that just a change is what he's really wanting. And I think, I'll be honest, I think it's good for Sequoia, and I think it's good for him. And I have been kind of taking over the girls' basketball program a little bit as far as being you might call the interim coach. And I would really like to have the job. I had the job, when I came on 15 years ago at Sequoia, I was the girls' basketball coach for about 4 years and kind of got things going like it is now. But again, Mr. Garvin was there. I had pretty good talent too. But again, that's kind of the only change that we've got right now that I could see in personnel. But now, some of it might domino effect. We're trying to get I'll be honest, we're trying to get continuity a little bit more between our coaches that coach softball and basketball. We've had a little rift there in the past. We've got kids that haven't been playing basketball that should be. And I think that would help our program quite a little bit. GPA, I would say that looking at the DNF list, that we didn't have a lot of our athletes that were on the DNF list. I wouldn't want to venture a GPA guess offhand.
We do have a lot, I'm sorry.
No, we don't.
We don't,
Now,
okay.
here's the deal. Our girls' fast pitch team were in the top 10% of the teams in their class. They actually qualified for an award for state academic championship. Now, they didn't win it, but they were in the top 10%. So most of our athletes, I think, have a decent GPA. I wouldn't say that, of course, with the way it is at Sequoia, having to have a 2.5 to stay not eligible, but stay in school, that you have to go to school. And then, let's face it, most of them want to be college athletes. Well, if you're not going to get your grades, they're not going to look at you. So I think that looking at it, and I'm thinking of what the sports I were in, we just didn't have now, I'm going to brag on our teachers. We had a shorter DNF list than we've ever had this year. And part of that is we had after-school tutoring, and our teaching staff's it's pretty good because they actually, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, they actually care about the students and they want them to be, so they will spend that extra time with them. And athletes are hard to get. Let's face it, they're gone a lot, they miss some school, they're up late at night, and so without that extra attention, we would probably have more athletes on the DNF list than we have. So that's kind of a praise for our staff, our teaching staff, because they have to work with our athletes a lot.
Councilor Garvin?
Yes. I'm a former teacher from Sequoia High School. I was there 7.5 years, I believe. And it's quite an experience. I really enjoyed it, and I worked with Coach Griggs. He does a fantastic job with the kids, and I noticed we're going to recognize one of his former students, Angela Goodrich, here in a little bit. And I just wanted to say that Sequoia will be getting a great coach if they have Coach Griggs as a girls' coach. He's got lots of experience and he knows that girls' basketball, and I strongly recommend him to the Cherokee Nation.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, our deal is to, as far as our girls program is to get more athletes out on our girls, and I know that I'm going to say this in the right way. Athletics and academics go hand in hand, and the year that my daughter graduated in 2000 was the first year we made state tournament. We had the valedictorian and the salutatorian on the girls basketball team. So I think that if you have players that are performing well in the classroom, they perform well on the floor. And I just think that that's kind of where our girls program, like I said, it's Coach Nobles, he's done a great job and he's made that decision to go on down. And I would like to have that opportunity to pick up the program and take it back to the level that it's been at and get some continuity between softball, track. I had 2 kids this year running track at this, well, 3 starters that actually ran track, ran in the state track meet and played on the show pitch team. So we have to share athletes, and sometimes, you know how it is, you don't want to do that, but on our level, to be successful, we have to share athletes. That's all there is to it. If we don't, we're not going to have the kind of success we've had.
Councilor Walkenstead?
As well as Councilman Garvin, I'd recommend Coach Griggs for that girls' position as well. I was a student there when Coach Griggs was the head coach of the girls, and did a really good job. He did an excellent job with the boys when he took that program over, and he really builds a rapport with the kids. And so anyways, I would really recommend for that position. Next thing I'd like to say is what's your thoughts on getting a drug testing policy for extracurricular activities at Sequoia High School?
Well, we've had that before, and I think that we've got the groundwork already laid and the rules, and I would not be opposed to it. In fact, at one time we had a instructor that actually was qualified to do the drug testing there on campus, and I think you're going to see it more and more. In fact, there's a few schools now that are testing all their students, not just the athletes or the extracurricular people, but all of them. So I have no problem with that. Because here's the deal, there's some things in there that it doesn't just take them all the way out the first time. It's you might say a second chance program. So I have no problem with it. In fact, I think I'm telling you, the way things are going now with meth and marijuana and alcohol, it's going to be tough to be a kid and grow up in the world we grow up in today. And we see it, and I mean, this is my 40th year out of high school, and I remember 40 years ago it wasn't like this back then. And these kids are facing, they're facing big challenges, not in school, but outside, because it's out there and they're getting lured into things. So I think that might hopefully deter a lot of that, is that if we had a drug testing program, they'd have to stay on a straight, narrow road at least we'd help them until they got out in the real world. So I'm all for it.
Thank you, Chair.
Coach Grigg, thank you for coming to us and giving a report. I know you've got other appointments you've got to get to, and we congratulate you and the girls softball team for winning the state championship.
I appreciate
That is
it.
quite a task to do that.
Appreciate y'all's support. Thank you.
We'll get back on the schedule here. We've got first report, Talking Leaves Job Corps.
Good afternoon. I believe you have our report, and if you have any questions, I will certainly try to answer those. I'll get you an answer to your question.
Good report. Yes. Sarah. Okay, we'll have our executive director's report, Dr. Neil Morton.
Expect the same treatment.
Okay.
You have my report. I'll be happy to try to answer questions that you may have.
Counselor Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I saw the flyer come across for the summer camps, and I wasn't for sure how to digest the preference, because now it's no longer limited to Cherokee Nation citizens. Now we're including other people, and it didn't seem to be like employees that may be other tribal citizens.
No, it is Cherokee Nation citizens.
The one that I have shows that it's Cherokee Nation, United Kituah Band, Eastern Band of Cherokees, Little Shawnee, and Delaware tribes. I know that particularly at RSU, they still have plenty of room, at least at this time, but I'm concerned, are we gonna use tribal money in a unique setting and exclude maybe possibly some of our own citizens?
No,
Okay.
no. It'll be on a space availability basis, especially on the residential camp.
Okay.
The other camp where there may be a Lapland or two where a kid may live across the road, but, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. I really appreciate it, because I was a little bit alarmed when I saw
Right.
that.
I can understand that.
Counselor Hoskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Morton, on the college scholarships, they're all online this year, of course. Is it possible for any of the supplemental documents, backing documents to be sent hard copy? And what I have in mind is like a high school transcript. I had a girl that said she just didn't have the scanning equipment. And
Yes, as long as the actual application itself is online.
very good, thank you.
Yes, that would be acceptable.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Dr. Morton.
Well, just to follow through on the Sequoia situation, my office is involved with a comprehensive review of Sequoia, which will involve quite a bit of reorganization of Sequoia, which I will be reporting to you next month.
Okay, that was going to be, we can expect that next.
Yes, we hope to have that finished by the end of May, because it will involve some reorganization, some personnel changes, so forth.
Counselor Garvin.
There's been a lot of talk in the papers and various things about graduation, and are all of our kids going to get a diploma? I guess would be the question for Sequoia.
You know,
We have to
that
pass those-
will be included in the report, and I'm not trying to evade your answer, but I'm going to give you the answer. According to the report that I received, on the latest test round, we have 24% that did not meet the requirements. You see, that's one thing for the overall review of Sequoia, because Sequoia has been organized on a Eastern prep school model, and that doesn't quite fit. You consider that the cumulative GPA for Sequoia is somewhere between 16 and 17, which would be lower than any of the teams that we play in our conference. So there's some real work that needs to be done, that has to be done. And hopefully the reorganization will allow some of that to happen.
We have a representative in our area that's really worked on this, Representative McPeak, and
Yes.
he's on the school
As
side.
far as an alternative approach to that. And we still hope that some of that will work. And of
Okay.
course, we will institute some of our own, sort of a fast-track GED or a fast-track test. Several colleges and universities are doing the same thing.
So next year you'll have a grade of A, B, C, D, or F, and we'll do that on that.
We have the graduation from our 6th grade this evening. Unfortunately, they set it on the same time and date as a council meeting, but that will certainly be a historical event. 6th graders will graduate, and all of them speaking Cherokee language.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Been a good month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Next, Head Start. Yeah, all those graduates.
Good afternoon. I believe you have.
Hey, before you get started, Counselor Thornton made a comment here. Dr. Morton just gave a report that the 6th grade graduation was 100% graduate, and they all spoke Cherokee, and we just scratched. We didn't clap. Can we clap this time? Thank you for reminding us.
Thank you, sir.
You have the Head Start report. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I'm representing Vernon Thompson. I'm Barbara Littledale, Senior Program Specialist.
Okay. Okay, Barbara, thank you very much. Okay, drop down to leadership, Mark Skinner.
Good afternoon. You have the report for leadership services, and I'd be happy to answer or find the answers to any questions you might have.
Councilor Baker.
Who's heading up the Remember the Removal bike ride?
The Remember the Removal bike ride will be headed up by Taylor Alsonay.
Okay, good. And they're still leaving on June 1st?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Still on track. Everything's on track to depart on time as scheduled.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Councilor Watts.
Thank you. Will the news media be clarified to include the additional folks, I guess, that have been notified? I think there was one news release and now there's a change, maybe.
Right. Some of the information has changed, and that's, I think, what you're referring to. Yes, our communications group has been in contact with us, and they're aware that there's been some changes to the people who'll be in charge and things of that nature. So I assume that they'll, handle any communications directly with the media outlets. So, yes.
Okay, and I've also had notices or notes from my constituents saying that they want to know when the youth are going to leave and when they're going to come back so that they can help participate in cheering them on, both coming in and leaving.
Sure. Okay.
So, and just to clarify, I also had questions. There is no blood quantum requirement now on Miss Cherokee, is that correct? Because that's still in your department, right?
I'm not aware that there's been any change to that. I haven't heard officially that there's been a change to any blood quantum requirement for Miss Cherokee.
Okay, can you get that clarified and get that to us? Because the way it reads on the news releases, there is no blood quantum requirement, and then when somebody checked on the application that was interested, there was not.
Okay, so you're saying something has gone out recently, a news release has gone out about that?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, okay.
That you just have to be a Cherokee
double check.
Nation citizen of a certain age, that's not married, that lives within the tribe.
Okay. And we do have a kickoff ceremony, and that's June 1st for the bike ride. Do you know what time that is? 9 a.m. There'll be a kickoff.
Councilor Walkinston.
And that's the tribal council. Mr. Skinner. Tribal Council Chambers, June 1st, 9 a.m. There'll be a kickoff ceremony for the Remember the Removal.
9 a.m. June 1st, okay, thanks. Thank you. Oh,
I believe they're arriving back on the 22nd, and they typically do that at the courthouse, the arrival ceremony. And
Okay. Dr.
Hey,
Roberts?
Mr. Skinner,
yes,
I traveled to Grove this past week and visited their Indian education program, and it seems like when I go out to these communities, and there's a lot of complaints about our tribal youth council, and and they talk about the lack of communication. And when I read the report, you know, our April attendance is 0, and our voting system planning meeting in March had 2, and then our April 16th meeting we had 1. And so there seems to be a lack of involvement with kids, or it's on our end, and we're not reaching those kids. I'm not sure. Can you kind of explain what's going on there?
I sure hate to hear, any, criticism of
Sure.
of our tribal youth council. I know there has been some changes that have been made recently, and I believe that those changes were communicated to this body from the individuals that are now participating in the tribal youth council. They are in the process of seeking applications, which will take place sometime, as I understand, late summer, to establish, or I guess reestablish the...
Who's rounding this up, this tribal youth council?
Patrick Hill is the sponsor for Cherokee Nation for the tribal youth,
Okay.
and he works in leadership services.
All right, tell him that I'm getting a lot of complaints about his program.
Pass that. I should be sure to pass that along.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Counselor Coates?
I want to just add one thing about the Tribal Youth Council, because I've had one of the counselors in my class all semester at NSU, and I know that there's been some dismay on their part that they have their meetings monthly here and that they invite everybody from the Tribal Council and nobody shows up. Not one of us shows up for their meetings. And I know that they've come to report and have skipped classes even to do that because they were excited to come to this body and report. And that on the time when they did, that this body canceled all reports because we had a long agenda on the Rules Committee meeting, I think is where they report, either there or ENF. And so I understand Councilor Walkingstick's concerns, but I've had some concerns about us on the other hand as well. So, we maybe need to kind of balance out what may be going on here a little bit and look at our own lack of involvement with them sometimes as well. So I would just offer that as a comment.
How have we done that in the past with the Tribal Youth Council? Have we met with them jointly, or is this, this not communicating that I hear from Coates and Walkingstick? What's the resolution here? What's the body recommend here? Councilor Hoskins?
I recall sometime in my term, the youth council came to Veneta, they held a field meeting, I think they held it in other places, and I certainly should take the responsibility to go to a meeting here if I could fit it in, but I also wonder if maybe you all would consider meetings in the field, or maybe you're already doing it. So and that's one suggestion I had, bring it out in our communities and even get some of the community folks who might be interested involved in seeing what they do. I think it's true.
Okay. I'd like to have one of the youth council members come and report next month. Seems like we're getting a better handle on running our meetings on a timely fashion where we don't run over like we did in the first couple of months. We're getting a better handle on Robert's rules, okay?
See if we can set that up.
Councilor Cope?
I believe they are already on the agenda, aren't they, that they report quarterly, is it, that on rules? That they do report quarterly. So
I was going to have one report
come
here.
to this committee. Okay.
Education. Okay. Any more questions? Councilor Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I still have hopes that our Tribal Youth Council Well, as a group, I know that Brian Barlow brought something individually over to the council, but as a group, that they would more formally have a legislative initiative on behalf of the youth of the Cherokee Nation, that they would bring specific recommendations to us, either in partnership with their actual district council people, if it's their group. And I know they don't exactly reflect how we're structured, I think, any longer. But they should be participating in our process, I would think, to some degree. I know they can't be allowed to actually sit at the table and vote, same as we would, but there's other ways that they could feed into what we're doing and actually add value. Again, I'll just say, I don't think fundraisers and those kind of things are how I want our student leaders spending their time. You know, have they researched something? Have they done a report? Have they presented to us? Do they have legislative initiatives? Do they have an amendment to existing legislation? You know, we struggle with our community youth grant. Well, these are our community youth. Can they go out and help us really understand how maybe we could improve that group of funds or that program? I'm looking for real meat and subject matter where they have a learning opportunity, and just wanted to throw that out again. I probably sound like a broken record at this point, eight years later, still saying the same thing. But that would be exciting to me.
Comments well taken, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Drop down to old business, none. New business.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to point out to the council that Brian Barlow, who's one of the Cherokee Nation Youth Council, received a Gates Scholarship.
All right. Yes,
I would
Speaker.
also point out that this young man that's on the youth council is one that we recognized with a resolution a month or two ago for the progress that he had made at Tahlequah High School on some green activities.
Okay, that was right. Okay. Okay. Okay, look like we have a resolution here or a new business?
Just discussion.
Discussion item? Mr. Counselor Hoskin, you want to take that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, you have a packet of information in front of you. And Cherokee Nation Foundation is not new. They report to us from time to time, but a few years back, I appreciated the overview that they presented, and I find that I still appreciate the overview because it's important that we know what they do. And so Ms. Gilliland was nice enough to come here today to give us this presentation, so I would just turn it over to her, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. Some of the things that I think you wanted some clarification on were in regard to...
You want to give a PowerPoint?
I can see it.
Oh, is this it? Oh, is it going to be here or there?
I think it's going to be on the big screen.
Lights off.
There we are. There it goes. Okay, there we go. To reiterate, the mission of the Cherokee Nation Foundation is to provide higher educational opportunities and to help revitalize the Cherokee language. We are a 501c3 that is incorporated under the tribe, but we do follow strict IRS 501c3 standards. Up here, I do have a brief presentation, and if you look in your packages, we just finished our annual program report, and the financials are restated in there as well, and you can see that we are working pretty lean and mean in regard to our G&A and our fundraising and our overall program expense. I think there have been some questions, and we are running anywhere from 13 to 15% on our G&A, which is making us a lot more attractive to private donations. One of the things I really wanted to point out is we have doubled the amount of privately funded scholarships we were able to award this year. We are around 215,000. I was actually able to award a little bit more today, so we're going to be closer to 230,000. We are up from 100,000 last year. Our Cherokee Scholars Program is our brand new program, and this is funding that is being awarded to high school students that have taken the extra effort to take challenging classes in high school, and they're following a STEM-based curriculum. We did $85,000 in higher education, not including the additional funding I'm able to give out today. And then we have a number of continued education programs for students that are looking to come back and study the Cherokee language, as well as other initiatives to support their education. I had some questions about our board structure. We are a 501c3 incorporated under the tribe, as I mentioned, and our board of directors is 100% volunteer. Our president is Robin Ballinger, who is also the CEO of Flintco. We are 100% volunteer based, and we are also 100% board donation, meaning that 100% of our board donates to the foundation fiscally and in-kind services. The advisory committee, there's been some confusion over the role of the advisory committee in the past. Our bylaws state that the principal chief, the deputy principal chief, and either the co-chair or chair of executive finance and the chair of education committee are automatically on our advisory committee. We've been very fortunate in the past that Dr. Julia Coates has served on this committee, and now Mr. Joe Bird is as well, and Mr. Chuck Hoskin have all proved to be active members of the committee and supporting of the foundation's programs. Did anyone have any questions about? No. Okay. What I really want to talk about are our youth programs this year. We have a number of programs that we initiated over the fall. Junior Achievement is one of our largest programs. We have 34 different programs going throughout the 14 counties. We had over 500 fifth graders go through BizTown through our joint partnerships, and 582 middle school and high school students that went through their Junior Achievement Economics for Success or the Junior Achievement Company Program, which is a high school program. I actually got to volunteer for Vanita and Ketchum's classroom for Economics for Success. It's something the rest of the staff has volunteered to do as well, just to have the experience. And this fall, we are going to take over one school, so the entire board will come in and teach Economics for Success in one particular school for the day, a middle school. And we haven't decided where, so if you have suggestions, we're willing to take up to 5 schools. This is something we did at BizTown, and it's just a 30-second video.
1, 2, 3, 4. This ain't a song for the broken-hearted.
Today my job is to cut down and measure it and see how much it costs.
It's an exciting environment where they get to apply everything that they learned in the classroom. So they can come here, they can work in an environment where they're buying things, where they're making things, where they're having to understand how to operate a checkbook.
It's my life, it's now or never. I'm gonna live forever.
Hopefully we get the opportunity to sell them on taking those harder classes so that they can go to college and earn the incomes to be able to do all of those things. Who wants to go to OU? Who wants to go to OSU?
Old Stout, just that a come.
On February 15th, we were able to take immersion Ketchum and Rocky Mountain. So we had 117 students there with a 98% Cherokee population. The volunteers that day were from Cherokee Nation businesses. As you saw, Skip Eller was up there, was one of our lead volunteers. And we were very pleased. Galilo at the end of this is raising her fist in the air saying, "BizTown is awesome." She couldn't believe that Heather and I had anything to do with it. So. Our Cherokee Scholars Program is a program that we actually took over from the Ed Services. It was a program that they piloted, and we kind of jumped in and ran with. This particular program encourages 7th, 8th, and 9th graders to take more challenging courses in high school, specifically 3 to 4 years of math and 3 to 4 years of science. We do have An extra component to this is that we do ask the students to try to take Cherokee language courses either online or through their high school program. In order to sign students up for this particular program, we've developed a mobile lab. So we travel with 6 laptops and 2 iPads to the different schools, and we either pull students out of class or we meet during parent-teacher conferences and sign the students up for this particular program. Up here you can see that some of the programming that we are implementing is once the students enter the program, we're not just giving them the potential to have a scholarship, we're providing them with additional programming services that they can use on their path to college. One of the things we'll be implementing next year, and this is a college path handbook, which will be introduced into the 10th grade. Eventually, we would like to start our college prep into the 8th and 9th grade, but curriculum is still being developed, and we have partnered with the National Foundation, the Princeton Review. But this gives a little bit of an idea, and it helps parents as well as students understand the fiscal responsibility they have toward their child and toward themselves throughout college. So it does go over the financial aid process, what they need to do in order to apply for scholarships, the effort they need to be able to put into that, and not waiting until their senior year to do that. We will be traveling with Cauda's Picnic on May 19th, which is Saturday. We will be traveling with the mobile lab, and students are encouraged to make appointments with us, but we will have all 6 computers, and we will sign them up not just for Cherokee Scholars, but for the Prep Institute, which I'll talk about in a minute, as well as helping with the Ed Services Government Scholarship, which is open until June 6th. June 6th, yes. One of the programs that we did this year that I've talked about briefly off and on is our ACT Prep. We piloted in 6 different schools, an intensive program. It was 18 hours of live instruction compiled with the students did have homework. It was over 5 weeks. It was incredibly intense. We had student athletes that were required to miss games in order to participate. As you can see, we had pretty decent results. We had as much as 2 to 5 point bumps on ACT scores. Our biggest jump was at Bartlesville, where we went from an average composite score of 17 to an average composite of 22. Some of the students increased their test scores as much as 6 to 10 points. We have one student that is now looking at East Coast schools when she wasn't looking at going outside of the region. So we're very excited for them. We are going to continue this program. As you can see, there was a lot of material. That's the back of my car. And the picture lower is the Sequoia classroom. Sequoia did this as an after-school program. They had 24 students that participated in that. And Sequoia's composite, they started at 18 and they went up to 22 as well. The reason the scores are not higher, and even though a 4 and 5 point bump is huge, is attendance. Students that showed up and gave 100% attendance did show on average 5 point increase. The College Prep Institute is our big program for the year. We are going to be hosting this at Sequoia High School from June 17th to June 22nd. And I actually brought a copy of our kit. I don't want to knock your water. This is something each student that will enter into the Prep Institute will receive, and it's everything from cracking the ACT for students that need to increase their test scores. We have files for their essays, transcripts, personal statements, resumes. We are going to be hosting a weekend, an evening session on business etiquette, interviews, how to make eye contact, how to shake hands, all the things that they're going to need in order to get through college as well. We're very fortunate. The schools that you see up here are going to be with us through the entire week. Yale University is coming in and will oversee the essay process, as will the University of Pennsylvania. At the same time, we're also going to be teaching personal finance as well as success skills. We're taking the students on the Thursday to the University of Tulsa, who has opened their campus to us, so they're going to experience college life for a day, including the meal ticket and finding the athletic center, and they're going to have to check out books in the library. This is open to 90 students. Cherokee Nation citizens. It is open to all Cherokee Nation citizens, so it does include the at-large population, and we are currently accepting applications now. There are travel grants for those who need them.
What age? What grade?
Oh, I'm sorry, they're juniors, rising seniors. And something else, these kids, this was done, it was actually part of the graduate program at UC Berkeley and OSU. So absolutely, they have no excuse for not filling out their applications by the end of this week. We also have computer labs that will be set up, and the American Indian Graduate Center is going to be coming in to help supervise the essays for the gates. Somebody mentioned the 6th grade is graduating. I had to brag on them a little bit too. They'll be graduating today. It's been a long 7 years for some of us, and we're very excited for them. And something that I wasn't supposed to announce, then I was told I was allowed to announce, and I'm not familiar, otherwise I change it right here, is this Thursday we will be signing our endowment at the University of Tulsa. We'll be signing at Gilcrease, May 17th. It's at 10:30 a.m. At the Gilcrease Museum. We did obtain a 2-to-1 match from the University of Tulsa. We're very excited about partnering with them, and this will make it $1 million endowment. And that was mine. Answer any questions?
Good report.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're visual learners, that helps.
I brought my nebulars.
So Thursday morning,
Yes, at 10:30 at the Gilcrease. And they're going to serve a continental breakfast, but then Dr. King, who is on our honorary board, is going to open up some of the private archives. They've just recently acquired a number of Cherokee artifacts that he's going to open up to those who attend.
I got to see those last week.
I've heard about them. I haven't seen them yet.
Fascinating.
So, and I included, Councilman Baker pointed out that not everybody received an invite, so I ran back to the office and I put them in your folders in case you didn't. So this is the foundation's first big press event, and we would like everybody there. We're excited.
I have one question.
Okay. Question, Councilor Hoskins?
Are there any open seats on the board itself?
We have 2 open seats, and we have submitted a number of potential candidates to the chief's office, and we're waiting to hear back.
Any other questions, Councilor Walkenstead?
Well, I just want to say the scholarships you guys give out, I gave one out to Miss Leach at Muskogee High School. It's a phenomenal idea of getting funds and then putting them back for years and then collecting the interest off them so that you have sustainability on those scholarships in the future. So you guys do a lot of great things.
Thank you.
Councilor Hoskins?
Yeah, one other, I forgot. When you have an applicant who does not get a scholarship, do you send them a letter saying thank you for applying?
Yes, this year because we were online, we sent an email and a letter.
Do you include in that letter that, the Cherokee Nation offers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, right. Even in the opening paragraph, it says just because you didn't qualify for a foundation scholarship, please make sure you verify that you have applied for and follow the higher ed. And we do help students through the higher ed application as well.
All right, very good. Thank you.
I'd like to amend the agenda on a resolution.
Is that it on the questions here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so very much for that report.
Sorry.
Okay, Councilor Walkenstead.
I'd like to amend our agenda and add a resolution.
Oh, that's the Goodrich. Okay.
I'd second that.
Okay, motion, second. Discussion. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Council?
Mr. Chair, there's one thing I want to switch, just one phrase. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th whereas. I have it Lady Kansas Jayhawk. I think it should say Kansas Lady Jayhawk. So I'm going to make that change.
For the council meeting, we'll have that ready? Okay.
I just think that sounds.
Point of order, we have no copies in front of us.
We don't.
We handed them around.
They were passed around, I don't know if you,
None of this.
We don't have any down here on this end, so I don't know what happened.
Somebody's sitting on a pile more than likely.
Anyways, this
Counselor, you want to explain what this
Yes.
is?
This is a resolution in recognition of Andrew Goodrich, a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, for outstanding athletic accomplishments, and I'd like to put this in a form of a motion.
Second?
And I would like, as well as like for this to go on full council tonight to be.
I'd like to be added exclusion. I want to.
Do you hear? Yeah. Okay. Counselor?
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment on next to the last paragraph. It's got another university mentioned, Kansas State, but Angela went to Kansas, and just take out state. Also in the last paragraph, it has Kansas State, it should be Kansas University.
That's correct.
University
of Kansas.
Actually, I like to make a friendly amendment as well as the University of Kansas.
Kansas University.
We need
I
to
want to be
get,
a co-sponsor also.
okay. Okay, we have a motion, second. I think everybody wants to be a sponsor. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Just make the appropriate changes, make sure you get with our council. Okay, announcements. We did good, 4 o'clock. Make a motion to adjourn. Second. Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.